KPBS On Demand is supported by UC San Diego's Art Power, presenting cellist Joshua Roman, performing from his album Immunity, alongside music by J.S. Bach and more. Sunday, June 22nd at UC San Diego's Epstein Family Amphitheater. Reserve your tickets at artpower.ucsd.edu.
Good morning, I'm Debbie Cruz. It's Tuesday, August 1st. SANDAG CEO talks about plans to resign. More on that next. But first, let's do the headlines. There's a slight chance of rain and thunderstorms in the county today. The National Weather Service says the weather is expected to be humid, but cooler than recent temps. Temperatures will be in the low 80s today and are expected to cool down a little over the next couple of days. San Diego's Fire Rescue Department will soon have more control over the city's emergency medical services. The City Council voted unanimously yesterday to allow the fire department to take over billing and dispatch responsibilities from ambulance contractor Felk. Fire officials also plan to contract some ambulance hours to American Medical Response to ensure response times are being met. The fire department believes this new system will bring in around $6 million in extra revenue to reinvest back into the 911 system. Former NFL and SDSU star punter Matt Araiza has filed a defamation suit against the young woman who accused him of rape. The woman says it happened at a house party near the SDSU campus in October 2021 when she was 17 years old. The DA's office declined to press criminal charges in December, citing a lack of evidence. Araiza's accuser sued him and 4 others in civil court last August for gang rape. In his countersuit filed Friday, Araiza claims the woman initiated the sex and boasted about having sex with him to her friend. In a statement, the woman's attorney, Dan Gillian, called the suit one of the most egregious cases of victim bashing I've seen in a long time. The outgoing CEO of SANDAG spoke to KPBS yesterday.
There is no secret that there is an animosity between some board members and myself, and I felt maybe the next CEO, he or she, will have a better time dealing with this board.
More on that interview coming up just after the break.
KPBS On Demand is supported by Splatero, helping homeowners pay off debt or for home improvements by offering streamlined access to your home's equity with no additional monthly payments or new debt. Splatero provides a lump sum payment in exchange for a share of your home's future value. Learn more at splatero.com.
San Diego County's top transportation official is stepping down at the end of the year. Hassan Ikrata was hired as CEO of SANDAG, the county's transportation planning agency, in 2018. He is the most progressive leader the agency has ever seen, pushing for more spending on public transit and less on freeways. Metro reporter Andrew Bowen spoke with Ikrata about his decision to leave.
You started this job at SANDAG just about 5 years ago. Why are you deciding to leave now?
Well, Andrew, you always debate when is the right time. In 5 years, we set out to define a vision for the future, which we did. We set out the priorities, which is to finish the Mid-Coast Rally, which we did on time, on budget, to bring OTA Mesa 2 to cut ground and start the design, which we're doing right now, and to get the funding needed to start the Lausanne environmental and design work, which we did, and to finally start the environmental work for the airport connection to rail. We did all of those. And just to be very frank, there is no secret that there is an animosity between some board members and myself. And I felt maybe with the next person, the next CEO, he or she, will have a better time dealing with this board so they can continue the journey and can achieve more instead of spending a lot of time fighting a political fight.
You came right out and said it. You have been the target of some attacks from conservatives on the board in particular. Why do you think that your tenure at SANDAG was marked by so much controversy?
I'm going to repeat something the CEO of Apple, former CEO of Apple said, Steve Jobs. He said, if you want to make people happy, go sell ice cream. Don't lead. Leading is a messy business. I think part of it is they hear the idea that they never heard before. Let us provide a multimodal transportation system where people have choices. Let's provide a system where your kids, your grandkids can bike without having a fear of getting hit by a car. So all those ideas, while they're not novel, they're not new, were threatening to the status quo, which is expand my highways. And the minute they hear that, I think things started. And let me say, it's not one party or the other. You know, I wouldn't necessarily say both sides were threatened by big infrastructure projects that's going to cost money, that's going to require us to get into areas that's politically not popular, and that's where it started. So as I told you before, and I told your colleagues, we did the amazing thing despite a dysfunctional board. And frankly, have I played the politics with the board? None of these things I just mentioned would have been done.
One criticism that I've heard from folks, even from folks who share your vision for the future of transportation here, is that your style is very brash and confrontational, and that perhaps if you had played the political game more strategically, that you could have accomplished more. Do you have any response to that criticism?
I would ask these people to define what I didn't come here to play games. I definitely was brought here to town by Mayor Faulkner, and him and I had a conversation before I decided to apply for the job. And Mayor Faulkner, I told him, Mayor, I'm about doing big stuff, big ideas, big vision. Are you ready for me? And he said yes, and I'm grateful he said yes. So I didn't come here to play political games. I will say, yeah, it would be much better if I were to say, let us build a consensus to a point where a board of directors could agree. But honestly, that would have been a waste of time, because the lines were drawn very early. You either expand my highways or don't talk to me. And the other side is either do everything that I ask you or don't talk to me. And I didn't think both worlds is good for San Diego.
That was SANDAG CEO Hassani Krata speaking with KPBS Metro reporter Angie Bowen. After Krata officially resigns on December 29th, he plans to move back to LA and teach university classes in engineering and urban policy. Enforcement of San Diego's recently passed Unsafe Camping Ordinance is now in effect. Reporter Jacob Ayers says it prohibits tent encampments in many places throughout the city.
Spread across the city, there are some new signs that let people know there's no more unsafe camping allowed in certain areas, like parks, canyons, and near schools, transit stations, and homeless shelters. Homeless advocate Michael McConnell says people living on the streets are going to be negatively impacted by the Unsafe Camping Ordinance due to a lack of shelter beds.
It's going to do the same thing as the other existing laws do. It's just going to move people from one place to another.
The ordinance bans tent camping in all public spaces throughout the city if shelter beds are available. Enforcement will be conducted by San Diego police officers and includes a progressive approach, from warnings to citations, and if needed, arrests. Jacob Ayers, KPBS News.
A San Diego researcher finds lowering food prices as a product nears the expiration date could significantly reduce organic food waste. Environment reporter Eric Anderson has details.
California's push to turn organic food waste into compost is squarely aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions from landfills. A new UC San Diego study by Robert Sanders suggests grocery stores and restaurants can do more to reduce waste.
If you walk into any grocery retailer in the U.S., most of the perishables are going to have the exact same price the moment they got there till the moment they expire and end up landfilled. And that's a problem.
Sanders says drop the price as the expiration date nears and stores boost chances of making a sale. Retailers could also boost profits by selling more items instead of throwing them away. California's organic waste law requires retailers to segregate organic waste to compost it and steer edible food to food banks. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Coming up, the Fleet Science Center has a new program to reach families in underserved communities. We'll have that story and more just after the break.
KPBS On Demand is supported by Latino Legacy Foundation, presenting their Storyteller series, Reach for the Stars with Ellen Ochoa, the first Latina astronaut. Welcome Serenade by the all-female mariachi Amapolas, Sunday, June 29th. More at latinolegacyfoundation.org.
The Fleet Science Center is starting a new program to reach families in underserved neighborhoods called Community Mornings. Education reporter MG Perez explains how.
Children from San Isidro were the first to experience a new community morning Saturday at the Fleet Science Center in Balboa Park. For the rest of the year, the Fleet Center will pick specific Saturday mornings to invite families from specific neighborhoods that are traditionally underserved. There is free round-trip transportation, early admission before the center opens to the public, and access to all the exhibits and resources. Isabella Pacheco is a junior at San Isidro High School. She has big career plans in science.
I can help animals feel better, like being a veterinarian, but I also like to think about how I can help the environment.
The next Saturday community morning event is for children from National City, August 26th. MG Perez, KPBS News.
Russian literature can be intimidating. Its dense volumes are filled with lots of suffering. But this summer, the Old Globe Theater commissioned Crime and Punishment, a comedy. To find out how this classic tale of murder and morality became a 90-minute romp, arts reporter Beth Alcamando spoke with playwrights Gordon Greenberg and Steve Rosen.
Steve and Gordon, you have created a show called Crime and Punishment, a comedy. Now, anyone familiar with Dostoevsky's novel knows it is not a comedy. It deals with murder and a young man who has committed a crime and suffers moral anguish from this. So how did the idea of turning this into a comedy come about? And Gordon, why don't you start?
I think when Barry asked us to adapt a great piece of world literature for the stage and gave us kind of free rein to talk about different possibilities, we looked for what we thought was the grimmest and most serious piece of literature, because as you know, the more seriously something takes itself, the easier it is to send it up. So that was our way in.
And Steve?
Well, we were also in the midst, really, of the pandemic had just sort of started. And as Gordon said, when Barry Edelstein reached out to say, we'd love you to adapt another classic work of literature to the stage in a funny way, and the way that you guys like to do it, which is a sort of a hyper-theatrical, small cast, lo-fi feeling way. We both were feeling particularly probably trapped in our homes and with the weight of the world upon us from all the things that were happening that were outside of our control. And so when we started sort of looking into the themes and the ideas in Crime and Punishment, it seemed like something we could use the moment we were in to try and express ourselves emotionally, but also a parallel to what what was happening to us and in the modern world.
I saw that this was kind of a riff on Russian literature in general. So how did you kind of pack all this into a 90-minute comedy?
Well, we end up throwing in everything but the kitchen sink, as they say. Really, we looked for how to take the story of Rodia Raskolnikov, who's the central protagonist of the original novel, and lift it to a world that lives a foot off the ground, as we say. So there are all kinds of crazy characters swirling around him, from the brothers Karamazov to the three sisters, and they show up in all manner of silly moments. However, I should say, not to sell this short, that this really does take the core of what that book was about and manifest it in a new version of the narrative that speaks to the idea that human experience is the same, and that the ideas and challenges that the characters were facing them are still very much alive.
Tell people what they can expect, because you have a small group of actors playing a very large number of characters.
They can expect a virtuosity on the stage of watching people change characters before their eyes. So it lives somewhere between Saturday Night Live, and the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Do you want to add anything to that, Steve?
I think that you couldn't have said it better. No, it's it's very theatrical. It celebrates the convention of theater. It's the kind of you can expect it to see something that you can only see in a theater. A story coming to life before your eyes, people changing characters on a dime. An amazing experience in the round as well. So that's one of the other fun challenges of this show, and the joy in watching Gordon stage something where basically you can sit on any side of this and you're basically transplanted into the world of Raskolnikov and the world that we've created here. And it's going to be a really fun night at the theater, that I know.
That was playwright Steve Rosen and Gordon Greenberg, speaking with arts reporter Beth Accomando. Crime and Punishment, a comedy, runs through August 20th at the Old Globes Theater in the Round. That's it for the podcast today. As always, you can find more San Diego news online at kpbs.org. I'm Debbie Cruz. Thanks for listening and have a great Tuesday.
KPBS On Demand is supported by the San Diego County Toyota dealers, offering a new 2025 lineup of vehicles at your local Toyota dealer, including a new Tacoma with turbocharged 4-cylinder engines and a hybrid powertrain option. The San Diego County Toyota dealers. We make it easy.